Today's Cleveland Browns report is sponsored by HexClad, a new sponsor I'm proud to tell you guys about here at Chat Sports. They've got awesome kitchen appliances. Look at this awesome pan right here. They've got such great features, and I can't wait to tell you all about them later on. But you can start saving by getting 10% off when you go to hexclad.com/chat. Use promo code CHAT. All that information's down in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about DeAndre Hopkins, right? As the Browns had their charity fundraiser golf outing, Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefasnki were there, along with numerous media members who asked about the DHop buzz and the potential of him coming to Cleveland. So I still feel like whether or not they get him, the Browns are still in a great spot for 2023. So if you're with me where this is just gravy, right? This is just a little offseason content to talk about. Plus, if they do sign DeAndre Hopkins, who's not going to be excited about it? So with or without DHop, if you think this Browns roster is loaded, because I believe if the Cleveland Browns were called the Dallas Browns, it would be a whole different conversation going on by the national media. And if you're with me, like today's video, and let's break the channel's like record. Let's get to 1,000 likes for the first time ever. Hit that thumbs up button. Now, one of the big quotes that came out of this fundraising golf outing was Deshaun Watson was, of course, asked a lot about the possibility of his old bud, DHop, coming to town. And he said, of course, we'd love to have him. He talked about other things as well, about how he's going to leave that up to Andrew Berry, and that's out of his jurisdiction. And the Browns have done a great job so far. And I don't know. Most players may have gone a route of, hey, I'm not going to talk about player personnel decisions. I'm here to play ball. Go talk to the head coach and GM about that. Maybe Deshaun Watson says this knowing, hey, I was talking to AB this morning, and then I was texting DHop, and both parties seem like they would love to have a reunion for us two in Cleveland. So maybe when there's smoke, there's fire here, and Deshaun Watson's hinting at a little wink, DHop might be coming up to Cleveland. What I do know is this. It gives me an excuse to use my favorite GIF, and that is, and here we go, because the rumors coming out of this are going to catch fire. It's the off season. Things are a bit slow. They're a bit dry, and boom, this is a spark in a very dry desert because it is going to take off at this point. There's a lot of buzz out there about where DHop is going to go, and the Browns might be a decent sleeper because Cleveland's already gone all in. There's no more going all in after you went for Zadarius Smith, right? You have maxed out your credit cards and everything. So if you're already all in, why not add one more player? Like, tell me it's not tempting to go, is this team better with or without DeAndre Hopkins? If the answer is better, you might say, screw it. Why not? Now, another quote that came out from the golf fundraiser was this, tweeted out by Cameron Justice, who said, Deshaun Watson on the Browns' offseason moves like getting Elijah Moore. AB is doing a heck of a job getting guys in that want to prove people wrong. And this is a great quote and a good reminder of whether or not Cleveland gets DeAndre Hopkins, the Browns have made a lot of changes to this roster this offseason, and they are primed to be one of the most talented teams in 2023, and dare I say, the best roster in Cleveland Browns history, for sure since '99. If some older guys out there want to disagree with me before my age, I'm not going to twist your arm, but there's a lot of talent on this team. Kevin Stefasnki was also asked about DHop, and this is what he said. I really like our wide receiver room. I love the guys in there. Andrew and his crew are always looking at every avenue, so I won't comment other than to say I like our roster. And what else would you expect from Kevin Stefasnki? He always gives the most coach speak type reaction, but there's a lot to like about this wide receiver room. You retained your top two receivers in Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, and you swapped out Anthony Schwartz / David Bell, whoever you want, as wide receiver 3 for Elijah Moore. You added Marquise Goodwin, who's going to be good for like 2 or 3 takeover games where he goes off for 100 yards and a touchdown and stretches the field. And then you found Cedric Tillman in round 3, which I think might be one of the best value picks of the entire draft. Now, like I've said before, and I'm going to keep saying it for the people in the back, when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins potentially coming to the Browns, it's a win-win. Win, right? You could do the Michael Scott approach. The first reason why it's a win is if you sign Hopkins, the rich get richer, everyone gets better, this team improves, it's going to make 2023 Cleveland Browns football better. I don't see a way that's not true. If you don't get DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, no harm, no foul. You still have Cooper, DPJ, who's only gotten better and better and better each season. Elijah Moore, I think, is an awesome breakout candidate for 2023. And then you got Cedric Tillman in the wings, and you got Marquise Goodwin as well. So, and then the final win is us fans. It's almost June. We've got some juicy stuff to talk about here that's got some legs to it. So, whether or not Cleveland gets DeAndre Hopkins, they are still in a great spot, and it is a win-win-win. All right, guys, it's time to talk about your kitchen. And no, I'm not talking about your roommate's dishes in the sink. Today's sponsor, HexClad, has revolutionized the cookware industry with a hybrid pan that gives you all the convenience and cleanup of nonstick, the versatility of your grandma's cast iron, and a lifetime warranty just in case you find a way to destroy them. Now, use our promo code CHAT at hexclad.com/chat for 10% off. Now, HexClad truly checks every single box when it comes to picking your cookware. They are metal utensil safe, dishwasher safe, and oven safe up to 500 degrees. Now, don't just take my word for it. Use celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay's word as well, who uses them at home, who said, "The sear I get with these pans is incredible, with absolutely no stick. The temperature control is utter perfection, and the cleanup is effortless. I love using HexClad at home." Now, if you love Gordon Ramsay like I do, you know he loves to throw his pans across Hell's Kitchen, from the red kitchen to the blue kitchen. And I don't know, if one of these bad boys is coming at me, it might not hurt as bad knowing that it's a great piece of artwork right there for cooking utensils like HexClad. So go to hexclad.com/chat. That's HEXCLAD.com/chat. Use promo code CHAT and get 10% off. All the information you need is in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, an interesting tweet that I found from Ian Rappaport I wanted to share with you guys here. Former Arizona Cardinals star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has hired agent Kelton Crenshaw of Clutch Sports to represent him in free agency, yada, yada, yada. Hopkins had previously represented himself, so I don't know if this means DHop is getting serious with the team, or if it's, hey, I'm on the wrong side of 30, and I really need to pick up an agent to get the best deal possible. So you can do with this information what you want. Chase Young, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Devontae Smith. What do all three of those guys have in common? NFC East. So maybe that signals the Giants or the Eagles or the Cowboys, or maybe it's just a pure coincidence. I do find it interesting that Rappaport decided to mention those three teams. Maybe he's tipping his hand a little bit here, or maybe it's a pure coincidence. But I did want to pass that along to you guys. Now, Zach Jackson had a great article on all of this, and he had a little excerpt I thought you guys should see. Hopkins will turn 31 on June 6th. Per StatHead, only one wide receiver, age 31 or older, has recorded a 1,000-yard receiving season over the past 5 years. Julian Edelman, 33, had 1,117 yards for the Patriots in 2019. Now, when you look at Hopkins, he has not reached 1,000 yards the last 2 years. He has not played a full season the last 2 seasons, which is pros and cons, right? Had he played a full season and was not suspended for PEDs in 2022, he likely would have gone over 1,000 yards. 2021, he dealt with a nagging ankle injury, but in 2020, 1,400 yards, and in his last season with Deshaun Watson, 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns. I mean, Deshaun Watson led the NFL in passing, and Will Fuller was his second best wide receiver after Brandin Cooks. Imagine what he can do with DHop now that he's really hitting his prime, because the two were very special when they overlapped in Houston, but it was Watson's uprising. It was his begin to start climbing up the leaderboard early in his career. Now that he's only getting better and the rust, as Deshaun Watson hopefully said, is knocked off, but we won't know until week 1 for sure. You can bet your bottom dollar that these two might have another year or two of their prime overlapping, where they can take 31 touchdowns over 3 seasons and bring that type of talent and play over to Cleveland. Now, I've got no concerns over DeAndre Hopkins regressing. This is going to be one of those things where maybe I get cold takes exposed in a couple of months if DHop does sign and things go down the toilet, but I'm not concerned about that because I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think DeAndre Hopkins can still be a very productive wide receiver on whatever team he signs, essentially. I mean, look at last year. He put up 700-ish yards in 9 games, and Kyler Murray wasn't even throwing the football the whole time. Now, when you look at Cleveland's wide receiver room, whether or not they get DHop, they still have a very good wide receiver room, right? Cooper's coming off a 1,000-yard season. DPJ quietly put up 839 yards, and Elijah Moore was put in the doghouse. For being a doghouse receiver, 446 yards. I know I'm spin zoning this with a little bit of bias, but man, imagine what he could do as a serious wide receiver option and not buried on the depth chart. Now, let's kind of go one by one here. We know how great Cooper is, but DPJ, look at his rise. Look at what he did his rookie season. 300 yards in 2020. He just barely sort of, made the roster, 6th-round pick, whatever. Didn't have a huge role or anything like that. But his second year, nearly 600 yards with horrible quarterback play. And then last season, between Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson, posted 839 yards. Like, DPJ, I don't think is really ever going to be a true wide receiver 1. But for your wide receiver 2 to be knocking on the door of 1,000 yards in his third season, you got to feel pretty good about his trajectory. Now, Elijah Moore had a really good start to his NFL career. 2nd-round pick, limited to 11 games, but 538 yards and 5 touchdowns in an abysmal New York Jets offense. Now, last year, like I said, the Jets had no offensive identity. Zach Wilson was a deer in headlights. And so, sure, Moore took a step back. The offensive coaching staff, which, by the way, his OC got fired. So maybe Moore was right after all about playing him a bit more. But a step back there, a new home found in Cleveland, and I think he could really push for 1,000 yards in his first season with the Browns. But it's not just the wide receiver room that's stacked for Cleveland. David Njoku, last season, he got off to a really good start. Weeks 1 through 7, 418 yards, just one score. That's the element of his game that I still want to see develop more, and at this point, you'd hope it'd be there. But hey, for him to come out and put up 418 yards in the first 7 weeks of the season, unfortunately, an injury sort of cut short what was a career start for him in a single season. He was on pace for 1,000 yards as a tight end. Like, that does not happen all that often, aside from the Travis Kelce's and the Mark Andrews of the world. So for Njoku to put together, hopefully, a healthy 2023 campaign, he too could be, they can't all be 1,000-yard receivers, but he's going to be a headache for defensive coordinators. So you make the call. Should the Browns sign DHop? Like I just outlined, if you get DeAndre Hopkins, this team is better with him than without him in 2023. But without DeAndre Hopkins, you still have great pieces, and you get to see more of Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman and let those guys kind of step into a bigger role, which I do think should factor into the equation because DPJ is a free agent next offseason. Cooper's got a big contract and a big cap hit coming up. Good chance you lose one of those two guys. And if that's the case and DHop only signs a 1-year deal, you could be going into 2024 with a somewhat unexperienced wide receiver room if DHop comes in and pushes everyone down the depth chart. Having said all that, it's DeAndre freaking Hopkins. I'm not gonna not be excited if they sign DHop and the Browns say, screw it, we're going Madden mode. We see your Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and we raise you and Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins and Elijah Moore. Like, all of a sudden, Cleveland's wide receiver room might go from third best in the AFC North, second best, to right there with the Chiefs and, with the Bengals and the Vikings of the world that have these loaded wide receiver rooms. Now, on yesterday's show, we shared this tweet, and I kind of wanted to re-hit it in case we got some new people tuning in. But Jeremy Fowler said, the read I got on DeAndre Hopkins and why some teams believe he would get released was the $19 million salary, always prohibitive, yada, yada, yada. But the last sentence, Odell Beckham's big money made taking less even tougher. So I want to revisit OBJ's contract one more time, which he signed with the Ravens. 1 year, $15 million. But keep reading, right? It's kind of like that scene in Draft Day. Like, ask me what I found next about Bo Callahan. Look at his cap hit for 2023. $3.9 million. How do you do that? Well, you put a lot of the money into signing bonus, you slap some void years on, and poof, his cap hit for this year can be relatively low. Now, after June 1st, which Cleveland will get the John Johnson and Jadeveon Clowney money, they're going to be in the neighborhood of $17-ish million. Might be $1 million north, might be $1 million south, but that's a good rough estimate. So if OBJ is kind of the blueprint, the baseline, which I think the Ravens sort of just panicked and overpaid, but that'll work wonders for DHop, who goes OBJ got $15 million, and he hasn't played football in how long? Yeah, I want $16 million. That's where the conversation starts. Well, you can pay him $16, $17 million, and you can still have a cap hit, which would be what the cap space is for, of, I don't know, somewhere between $4 to $7 million, which could leave Cleveland with still $10+ million to roll over or keep in the bank for this upcoming season. Jeremy Fowler also put out 9 destinations, which was the central focus of yesterday's episode. So I invite you to go ahead and tune into that if you have not already. But you can see some teams after June 1st are not as rich as you may think. The Bills and the Chiefs. That's what happens, right? When you've got star quarterbacks under big contracts and not a lot of restructuring happened. The Jets have money. The Cowboys have money. The Saints all have money. You see the Browns there with $17 million. The Giants right at $4.6 million. I wonder if they might get priced out a little bit. The Falcons definitely need a wide receiver, but I don't know if they're going to be, or if DHop will be interested in going to Atlanta. And the Patriots are near Cleveland, around $12-ish million. So if we look at these 9 destinations, kind of break them down one by one. The Bills and the Chiefs, they're broke, they're poors, they're just over $1 million. They'd have to do a lot of shuffling and whatnot. Not saying it can't get done, but if they're not crazy about it, I don't know if they're going to go through all the legwork to get something done that they may not really have a big interest in. The Jets have made a lot of moves this offseason. I think they have too many wide receivers. Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman all went over there. I think they might just kind of tap out. The Cowboys, they did their one thing this offseason, and that was getting Brandin Cooks. They have CeeDee Lamb. Not saying they couldn't stand to add an extra wide receiver, but I wonder if Jerry Jones is content with just Brandin Cooks. The Saints are just mid. I'm going to kind of toss them with the Falcons, where if you want to win a Super Bowl, DeAndre Hopkins, those are probably the 2 least likely teams to go ahead and do that this season. So probably passing on those. The Giants is too cold, too chilly up there for him. And I know Cleveland's not, South Beach either, but at least it has his buddy Deshaun Watson, which could smooth things over for him if he's trying to get over the weather hurdle. Whereas in New York, let's go stand in the cold and catch passes from Daniel Jones? No way. And then the Patriots, they got Bill O'Brien. That clown traded him away for nothing. No way in hell he wants to go play under Bill O'Brien again. So just like that, there's a path for Cleveland. Like it could stick out a little bit that DeAndre Hopkins looks just the way I am right now. So I've previously asked where you guys think DeAndre Hopkins is going to sign. We've asked that question before. How about we turn it on its head? Where do you not want Hopkins to sign? What is the last case scenario, the worst case scenario? Let me know what you think it is down in the comment section below. For me, the worst case scenario, I'd got to go with the Chiefs. If you want to win the Super Bowl, the road to the Super Bowl runs through Kansas City, more or less, right? It has for the last 4 or 5 straight seasons, ever since Mahomes became the starter. So if that's the case, yeah, I do not want to see the Chiefs get DeAndre Hopkins. All right, before we get on out of here, I know I've already taken up so much of your time today. It's off-season mode. It's pick a card time. Producer Tex McCullough behind the computer. Tex, what card do you want to go with?
Let's go with the 6 of clubs.
6 of clubs. Okay, I'm going to go with the Jack of hearts. All right, I invite you just to pick a random card down in the comment section below. 6 of clubs, Jack of hearts. One more cut for good measure. And it is, we weren't even close really. 4 of spades. 4 of spades. Okay, we'll sign off. We'll see you guys later.